Okay, so I moved my camera a little bit because I realized that I have like the only light I've left, because it's 5:20 in Wisconsin and the sun's leaving us, is like directly above me, so I got like shadow eyes, and that's not cool. So the last question is really sort of a complicated one, and I feel like I'm gonna ramble, and I hope that's okay. The question is, do you have a protocol for when you want to contact a spirit, like a series of rituals and divinations? What about testing a spirit when they have contacted you? And again, this is another question from Lanterns at Dusk. You've asked 3 questions that I'm going to give a really different answer from probably what you wanted to hear, and I'm sorry about that. I have had contact with the dead, or at least what I have thought have been the dead since I was very, very young, and so it's always been a two-way street it's been a lot more about understanding and working through some of my anxieties with that than, than a complicated ritual to make it happen. Does that make sense? I would say that 9 times out of 10, when I have contact with a spirit, whether it's human or non-human, it's not intentional, and it is not something where I wake up and I'm like, today's the day, gonna go find some spirits and whatever. That really doesn't ever happen to me. It's like I see something out of the corner of my eye, or I hear something that's clearly not my thoughts, or I have a very strange experience that I smell a smell of someone that I knew who's passed away, which happens to me a lot. So most of the time, I don't need any sort of additional help. When I do specifically do divination for these purposes, it's usually when I am contacting someone I don't know, or I'm contacting someone on the behalf of someone else who's either in the room with me, or maybe via the internet or something, which is something that I do pretty regularly for people, and certainly if you're interested in that, you should inbox me and we can talk about it. And I find in those situations that divination helps me, and scrying helps me, because it's just a lot more difficult for me to communicate with people that I didn't know in real life, or spirits that are not banging down my door, per se. So, yeah. So I guess I could talk more about that. When I do contact, or when I'm attempting to contact spirits via divination, I actually have a deck that I use specifically, and it is the Gustav Klimt deck, which I don't know why I've always associated his, or the tarot card deck that is made from his artwork, with death and dying, and with those who have passed on, but I just do, and it's a gift that I had bought for my sister, and she didn't really use or like the deck, so she gave it back to me, and I have been using it ever since. I guess this is where we walk into a territory where people are probably going to get up my butt about it, but I'm just going to talk from my experience. In the 12 years that I would say, yeah, it's been about 12 years since I have actively been trying to talk with and communicate with the dead, whether it's with scrying or not. I have never encountered, I don't know, malicious spirits who want to pretend that they're someone they're not. And I think that that's pretty specific to fear-mongering and to people on Tumblr, and I don't want to associate those two things, but those are the only 2 situations in which I've encountered that. I mean, I don't know, I don't get contacted by gods pretending to be other gods, or human spirits pretending to be gods, or entities pretending, I don't know, that's just not, it's just not what happens to me at all. It's actually really boring. I mean, I might hear things, I might get flashes of images, I might get a sentence or 2, or just a lot of times I'll get a feeling of emotion that is not my own. That usually is combined with some sort of, have you ever just about passed out? Like, where it's like everything sort of closes in, and you stop hearing things except for like the wah 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 noise. Typically that is how I know that I'm contacting something that is like truly not just all in my head. Anyway, moving on from that topic, because I know it's a really touchy one with people my life's really boring, I guess. Maybe some people have like these amazing, like life-changing spiritual contacts on a daily basis, and it must happen because I see it all the time on Tumblr, but that's just not me. And then as far as scrying, which I use way more than divination to get into spirit mode, I basically, I use a crystal ball, or I will more commonly use a black scrying mirror. It may be one of the ones that I've made. I had some over here, now I don't, imagine that. It may be one of the ones that I made, or I do have 2 round, concave ones. But certainly you can use smoke or fire, mirrors, ice, water, pretty much anything you can focus your eye on. It's like the tool's not important, it's just like a focal point for you to get inside yourself and work some shit out. And in that case, I'll usually try to have a picture of the person or an item that belonged to them, or I'll try to read about them, or I don't know, just do something to get myself into the mode of wanting to communicate with them. And again, usually, you know, I don't always make contact, and when I do, it's not like they appear before me in full, like, body solidness, and they tell me a prophecy. I mean, this, I don't know, like, I just don't, I'm doing this for a while now, and that's never happened, so I don't know what to say about that. For people who have experienced that, I guess that's like a really cool experience to have, but that's just, I'm not saying that it won't ever happen to me, but it just hasn't. 9 times out of 10, it's more of like a, like, was that real? Did that just happen? Some shit moving? I hear some things, I feel some things, I smell some things. But yeah, if you're asking, I guess, about the ritual of it, there's really none. I do tell people that they should try to protect themselves. I often don't do that myself because, again, I don't really have experiences that warrant that sort of level of security. I certainly have had some negative experiences, particularly while ghost hunting, and I think it's a whole other topic and a whole other like mindset to be getting into, but I found that kind of like a BDSM relationship, and this is gonna sound like maybe a bit reaching, but like the whole aftercare aspect of dealing with spirits is really important, like making sure that like they're okay, you're okay, like closing things down, making sure anything that needs to be said is said, and then like doing stuff for yourself that is going to bring you back to the reality that you live in. So whether that's like eating chocolate, which is a big one for me for some reason, you know, talking to someone, calling a friend, getting on Tumblr, getting some water, laying down, maybe listening to some like pop music or something. But yeah, other than that, there's no like woo involved with what I do, and I don't know, maybe I'm just not exciting, and I'm really sorry. I keep apologizing at the end of these videos because I'm so freaking boring. I'm sorry, I'm so freaking boring. Ugh.